Hi, everyone. I want to talk today about elements of fiction when analyzing literature. Let's talk about what we can do to have a deeper understanding of what we read and to analyze it at a stronger level. This will help you with any essays that you're writing. If you're analyzing a work of literature, you need to look at the obvious plot, which is going to be the sequence of major events in a story. The plot development is how the sequence evolves or is shaped. But when analyzing a story, you usually only need to look at a few key points and key details of plot. It's not necessary to summarize the entire plot of something that your teacher or other classmates have already read. The plot serves as like a springboard to the analysis and the discussion. Now, if there's a major plot twist or your expectations aren't met in the plot, so maybe things are in the wrong order or they're just not realistic, then you want to talk a little in depth about those things. But overall, it's usually just a few key details about the plot of a story that need to be mentioned before the analysis begins. So, first things you look at when you analyze literature are the characters. How does the author reveal a character to the reader and why? We're always thinking of what the author is doing and speculating on why and what that does for the story. So, how does the character grow and develop over the story? Readers have to examine what insights the text provides about a character, but sometimes they also have to consider what's left out. So, are things missing from your character? I would analyze what does the reader have to consider about the character that isn't explicitly written? So, what's not there and why? What secrets could the characters be keeping from one another? And why? What might a character not say? What are they refraining from saying? Also, we tend to focus on the protagonist, the hero of the story. But what about the antagonist or other minor characters? What do they bring? Are they an interesting object to study in an analysis? Don't forget about those other characters who are in there. Setting. Okay, so setting is going to include the time, the place, the culture, the atmosphere. And when you look at the setting, number one, look at the time period. Do not ignore that. What's happening in history at that period? What's important events are going on that the author could be connecting to? And I always think, how would my story change if the location changed? If we're looking at a story that's taking place during the civil rights movement, our setting might be very different um, if it was in the South versus the North. And therefore, our story may not work as well in a different location. Always consider why the author picked the location they picked and compare it to other locations to see the differences. The theme. The theme is going to be the central idea embodied by or explored in a literary work. All stories have at least one theme: love, war, friendship, tolerance, revenge. The theme is brought to life by the plot and characters. So analyze how the theme is developed. What actions, events, or symbols make the theme apparent to you? What is the author saying about the themes you have noted? And do you agree with the author's message? And why or why not? So there's always a message that an author is making when they write. Our job is to decipher what it is. What are they saying? And then do we agree with them? And it's okay not to. Symbolism gets very tricky. It's the use of an object or event to suggest meaning beyond their immediate physical presence. The more prominent an image is in a story, the more likely it's meant to be read symbolically. So if you look at the short story The Lottery, that black box keeps coming up. They talk about it. They describe it. You have an image of it in your mind. What is it symbolic to? What can it connect to? The more something is brought up in a story, the more likely that it has a deeper meaning. Careful writers choose their words and images for maximum impact, filling them with as much meaning as possible and inviting their reader to interpret them. Writers want you to analyze and interpret what they wrote. They didn't do it just for the enjoyment of the story. Even looking at children's stories, there's always a lesson or moral behind them. Our job is to find it. The last thing to look at is the style that the author wrote in. So the diction is the choice of words that the author used. The syntax is the arrangement of the words. These are key to the overall message. Writers get their thoughts across in the way that they wrote. So a text might strike you as sad or lighthearted, formal or casual. It might make you feel nostalgic or make your heart race with excitement. All of this is done. That author has the ability to kind of control your emotions and your reactions through the words they use and how they use them. It's really brilliant when you think about it. So when you're looking at works, analyze the style. Is the diction elevated and difficult or ordinary and simple? Why? Are the sentences long and complex or short and to the point? Why are they that way? What is the point behind it? What is it doing for the overall meaning of the story? Is there dialogue? Um, oh, are there things that we're feeling should be in the story but are missing, and why? Usually, an author leaves something out to strengthen something else. So, what is it? If events are missing, why? It's not always that they weren't important. Sometimes it's to change the overall meaning of the story. Your job is to read and to look for those things. Good luck finding them.